I remember the day Rachel came into our lives. It was about a year after Mom died. Dad still seemed lost, like he was walking around in a fog. Then Rachel showed up, always smiling and saying nice things.
Dad thought she was a gift.
I wasn't so sure. "Hey, Pumpkin," Dad said one evening. He sounded both happy and nervous. "I want you to meet someone special. This is Rachel." I looked up from my coloring book and saw a tall woman standing next to him. She had a big smile, but her eyes didn't seem friendly. They felt like they were judging me. "Hello, sweetie," Rachel said as she knelt down to my level. Her voice sounded too sweet. "I've heard so much about you. Your dad says you're the smartest little girl in town." I just nodded.
I didn't know what to say.
Dad looked at me with hopeful eyes, like he really wanted me to like her. "Isn't she great, Kelly?" "Yeah, she's nice," I said quietly, going back to my coloring. Even then, I wasn't good at lying. The first few weeks were okay. Dad seemed happier, and Rachel acted like she cared. But then I started to notice things. She was nice when Dad was around, but cold and distant when it was just the two of us. One day, she came home with a bunch of shopping bags. "I got you some new clothes, darling," she said with a fake-sounding smile. "Kids your age grow so fast." At first, I was excited, but when I tried them on, everything was way too big. The sleeves went past my hands, and the pants dragged on the floor. It felt like I was wearing someone else's clothes. "Dad, look," I said when he got home, showing him. "Rachel got these for me, but they're too big." He just laughed and messed up my hair. "She's thinking ahead, honey. You'll grow into them. That's smart shopping." I wanted to say it wasn't smart. It was strange. But I didn't. I knew it would just make him sad. After that, school got really hard. Kids can be mean, and they started picking on me because of the baggy clothes. "Hey, Scarecrow." They would shout things like, "Where's the rest of your farm?" as I walked by. I tried to ask Rachel if we could get clothes that actually fit me, but she just waved her hand and didn't even look up from her magazine.
"Kids are mean," she said.
"You need to toughen up." That's how things went for months. Dad was off in his own happy world with Rachel, and I was just there. The girl in clothes that were way too big, with a stepmom who didn't really care. "Rachel, can we please get clothes that fit me better?" I asked one day, trying to be brave. "The kids at school make fun of me." She looked at me with a cold stare. "You need to learn to be thankful," she said sharply. "I'm doing my best. You should try being more grateful."
I didn't know what to say.
It felt like no matter what I did, it was wrong. I was wrong. That night, I heard them talking. Dad was saying how great Rachel was with me, how lucky we were to have her. I wanted to scream, to tell him she wasn't great. She wasn't even nice. But I didn't. I just lay there in bed, feeling small and alone, listening to them laugh and talk in the kitchen. I remember one morning, Dad had to leave early for work. He kissed my forehead and said, "Kelly, be good for Rachel, okay?" I nodded, even though I was dreading another day with her. As soon as the door shut, her smile disappeared.
"Get dressed."
"We're going shopping," she said, her voice sharp. In the car, I tried to talk to her. "Can we get some jeans? Maybe some shirts that fit." She gave me a cold look. "You'll wear what I buy, and you'll be thankful." Got it. At the store, it was the same as always. She picked out clothes that were way too big. When I said something, she snapped, "Stop whining. You're lucky I'm spending money on you at all." When we got home, I tried to fix the clothes myself so they would fit better. Rachel saw me and got really angry. "What do you think you're doing? Ruining perfectly good clothes?" "I'm just trying to make them fit," I said quietly. "You're so ungrateful," she shouted. "Do you know how many kids would love to have a stepmom like me?" I wanted to say, I bet not many, but I stayed quiet. Talking to Rachel was like talking to a wall. Nothing ever changed. A few weeks later, she joined the school parent council. It became her new stage, and she acted like a perfect stepmom. I heard her talking to some other parents at a school event, her voice full of fake care. "It's so hard raising someone else's child," she said with a deep sigh. "But I love her like she's my own." The other parents believed every word. "You're such a saint," one of them said, "taking on such a big job." I felt sick listening to her. At home, things were totally different. If I left a cup on the table or forgot to make my bed, she'd yell, "Look at this mess. Your mother would be ashamed." One night, I tried to talk to Dad. "Rachel acts different when you're not here," I said, hoping he'd understand. He shook his head, looking tired. "She's doing her best, honey. You need to give her a chance." "But Dad..." "No buts. She's your stepmom now. You need to respect her." It was like he didn't even hear me. He wouldn't listen to anything bad about Rachel. I felt so alone, like I was stuck in a bad dream I couldn't escape. Living with Rachel felt like walking on eggshells. I never knew when she'd snap. I started counting the days until I could leave for college and live my own life. But then everything changed. It was a normal Saturday morning. Dad was rushing to get ready for work, and I was doing my best to stay out of Rachel's way. Suddenly, Dad grabbed his chest, and his face twisted in pain.
"Dad."
I screamed, running to him. Rachel came in, her fake worried face back on. "What's going on?" "I don't know. He's in pain," I cried, tears pouring down my face. Rachel quickly called for an ambulance, but it was too late. Dad was gone before they even got there. The next few days were a blur. Relatives I hadn't seen in years came to visit and say they were sorry. Rachel played the grieving widow perfectly. She cried on command and told everyone how much she loved Dad and how she didn't know how she'd go on without him. At the funeral, she gave a speech that sounded like it belonged in a movie. "He was the love of my life," she said through fake sobs. "And I'll miss him every single day." I stood there, frozen, watching her pretend to be sad. I wanted to yell, to tell everyone she was faking, but I couldn't. I just stood there, feeling more alone than ever. After the funeral, once everyone had left, Rachel dropped the act. It was just the two of us in the house. She turned to me, her eyes cold and sharp. "Now that your dad is gone, things are going to be different," she said in a low, scary voice. "You're going to learn to respect me." I was still in shock from losing Dad. Her words hit me like a slap. "What are you talking about?" I asked, barely able to speak. "Don't act like you don't know," she hissed. "Your dad's not here to protect you anymore. And I'm done dealing with your attitude." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Dad had just died, and all she cared about was being in control. "You're unbelievable," I said, my voice shaking. "He was your husband. How can you be so heartless?" She laughed, but it wasn't a kind laugh. It was cold and mean. "Oh, please. Your father was just a way to get what I wanted. Now he's gone, and I'm in charge. You better remember that." I looked at her, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. She was right about one thing. Dad wasn't there to protect me anymore. I was stuck with her, and
She didn't see me as family.
to her, I was just a problem. Life after Dad died was awful. Rachel made the house feel like a prison. I felt trapped. I knew I had to leave, but I didn't know how. Then Aunt Janet showed up. One evening, she came over. She was Dad's younger sister, strong, bold, and not afraid to speak her mind. She had heard about Dad's passing and came to check on me. But when she saw how Rachel was treating me, she was furious. "This is no way to treat a child, Rachel," Aunt Janet said, her voice firm. Rachel rolled her eyes. "She's not a child anymore, Janet. She needs to learn discipline." But Aunt Janet didn't back down. "Discipline? Is that what you call this? She's like a prisoner in her own home." I sat there, watching them argue, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a little bit of hope. Aunt Janet was standing up for me, something no one had done since Dad died. "Listen, Rachel," Aunt Janet said, not backing down. "I'm not going to sit by and let you treat her this way. She's coming with me." Rachel laughed, cold and cruel. "And what makes you think you get to decide that?" "I'm her guardian now," Rachel said. Aunt Janet narrowed her eyes. "We'll see about that. I'm not going to let you ruin her life." That night, Aunt Janet took me to her house. It was small and cozy, nothing like the cold, scary house I had lived in with Rachel. For the first time in a long time, I felt safe. "You're going to stay with me from now on," Aunt Janet said, sitting me down at her kitchen table. "I've talked to a lawyer. We're going to fight for custody. I felt overwhelmed. But Rachel said she's my guardian. Aunt Janet shook her head. She might be your guardian for now, but that's not forever. We're going to fight this, and we're going to win. The legal fight was hard. Rachel did everything she could to keep me, not because she loved me, but because she wanted control. But Aunt Janet didn't give up. She had a strong lawyer and a strong heart. After months of court hearings, the judge finally gave custody to Aunt Janet. Moving in with her felt like walking into a brand new life. She was kind, loving, and the complete opposite of Rachel. She believed in me and supported everything I did. Life's too short to be miserable, she'd say. Find what makes you happy and go after it. I took her words seriously. I started doing better in school, made new friends, and finally began to feel like a normal teenager. Aunt Janet wasn't just my guardian. She was my mentor, my friend, a light in the dark part of my life. Living with her gave me the love and support I needed to heal from the pain and neglect I had gone through with Rachel. For the first time, I was excited about the future. I started dreaming again about college, a career, and the person I wanted to become. It was a fresh start, a new chapter in my life, and I was ready to make it count. Years passed. I hadn't seen Rachel in a long time. I was now working at a respected company, building my own life. The past felt far away, until one normal day, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. Kelly Clarkson speaking. I answered, thinking it was just a work call. The voice on the other end was calm and professional. Hello, Miss Clarkson. This is Nurse Helen from Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. I'm calling about your mother. I froze. A wave of confusion hit me. My mother passed away years ago, I said, surprised. The nurse quickly explained. I'm sorry for the confusion. I meant your stepmother. She listed you as her next of kin. My mind started racing. Why would Rachel list me after everything she did? What happened to her? I asked, feeling a mix of curiosity and the old hurt rising up. She had a serious fall and needs surgery, the nurse said. She's been asking to see you. I didn't know how to feel. So many emotions were swirling inside me. I'll think about it, I said and ended the call. That evening, I told Aunt Janet. Her face showed both concern and disbelief. Why would she want to see you after all this time? After everything she did? I don't know, I said honestly.
Part of me wanted to see if she'd changed.
But another part remembered all the pain she caused. Aunt Janet gave me a kind, steady look. You don't owe her anything, Kelly. Remember that. The next day, I went to the hospital, unsure of what I was looking for. Maybe it was closure. Maybe I just needed answers. Walking into Rachel's room felt like walking into a part of my past I'd tried to forget. She looked weak, nothing like the strong, controlling woman I remembered. Her face lit up when she saw me. Kelly, my dear, you came, she said softly. Her voice was weak, but still had that same dramatic tone. I'm here because I was curious, I said, keeping my distance. Kelly, I know I wasn't the best to you, she said, her voice shaking. But deep down, I've always loved you. I looked at her with doubt. My memories told a different story. Loved me? You had a strange way of showing it. She reached out with a trembling hand. I made mistakes. But I'm all alone now. I need help. You're all I have left. Her words were meant to make me feel bad, but they didn't. You're alone because of your choices, Rachel, not because life was unfair. She kept going, her eyes full of desperation. Please, Kelly. I have no one else. I do love you. You have to believe me. I stared at her for a long time. This was the same woman who made my childhood so painful. Now she was lying in a hospital bed, asking for love and help. I'll listen, I said finally. But don't expect me to forget the past just like that. I sat down across from her in the plain hospital room. It was hard to believe this fragile woman was the same one who once ruled over our home like a queen. But as she started to speak, I could still hear it. That same tone in her voice. That same way of talking that tried to twist things in her favor. Some things never change. Kelly, she began, voice shaking, I've messed everything up since your father died. The inheritance, it's all gone. That didn't surprise me. Gone?
How?
I asked, though part of me didn't even want to hear the messy details. I wasn't careful with the money, she admitted, avoiding my eyes. Bad investments, lots of debt, it's all gone. I shook my head in disbelief. This was the same woman who used to lecture me about being smart with money. And why are you telling me this now? I asked. Rachel looked up and met my eyes. The doctors say I need surgery, but I can't afford it. I don't have insurance anymore. So, what do you expect me to do about that? I asked, feeling both angry and shocked. I need your help, Kelly, she said. I need you to pay for it. Her voice changed from asking to almost demanding. I laughed, though there was nothing funny about it. It was a bitter laugh. After everything you did to me, you actually think I'd help you? She tried to guilt me again. You're my family, Kelly. You're all I have. Family? I snapped. You never treated me like family. So why should I start acting like one now?
Her face changed.
The sad, weak act disappeared. You owe me, Kelly, she said coldly. I took care of you after your father died. You call that care? I said, my voice rising. You made my life miserable. Ungrateful child, she hissed, her face twisted in anger. I should have thrown you out when I had the chance. Then why didn't you? I challenged her. She gave a nasty smirk. Because I thought I could get something out of it. But you owe me, and you're going to pay, one way or another. Her words were like a threat, clear and desperate. You're threatening me? I asked, stunned. After all these years, you still think you can control me? I'm not just threatening, she said. If I have to, I'll take you to court. I'll say you owe me alimony, or that you caused me emotional stress. Whatever it takes. Go ahead and try, I said, standing up. You're not getting a single penny from me. She was furious now. You'll regret this, Kelly. I'll make your life hell again. After I left the hospital, I was full of anger and disbelief. How could she have the nerve? I went straight to Aunt Janet's house and poured everything out over a hot cup of coffee in her warm kitchen. Can you believe that woman? I said, slamming my mug down. After all these years, she's still trying to control me, still trying to squeeze money out of me. Aunt Janet, calm and strong as always, shook her head. She's a snake, Kelly. She always has been. Thinks she can just show up and demand money? That's ridiculous. I was pacing back and forth, my heart pounding. She's threatening to take me to court, Janet. For alimony. Let her try, Aunt Janet said with a snort. She won't get a cent. You're not responsible for her mess. But Rachel meant what she said. A few weeks later, I got served court papers. Rachel was suing me for alimony. She claimed she deserved money for taking care of me all those years. It was ridiculous. In court, Rachel played her usual act. She sat there looking weak and helpless. Your Honor, she began, her voice full of fake kindness. I took this girl in after her father passed. I provided for her. And now, she's leaving me when I need her most. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. When it was my turn, I stood up. My hands were shaking. I was nervous and angry. That's not true, Your Honor, I said. She made my life a nightmare. My Aunt Janet has been the one taking care of me and supporting me for years. The judge looked at Rachel over his glasses. Mrs. Clarkson, is that true? Were you not this girl's legal guardian? Rachel hesitated. The act started to slip. Well, legally, no, she admitted. But morally, I was. Morally? I cut in, unable to stay quiet. There was nothing moral about the way you treated me. The judge looked serious as he reviewed the case file. After hearing the testimonies and seeing that Miss Clarkson's aunt has been her legal guardian in recent years, this court finds no reason to award alimony. He gave a firm nod. Case dismissed. Rachel's face twisted in anger. She glared at me as we left the courtroom. This isn't over, Kelly, she hissed.
But it was.
As Aunt Janet and I walked out of the courthouse, I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Rachel's last try at controlling me had failed. I was finally free. "You did good, Kelly," Aunt Janet said, giving my hand a squeeze. "She can't hurt you anymore." I nodded, feeling lighter, stronger. I know. It's finally over. That day marked the end of a long, painful chapter in my life. Rachel had no more power over me. I had stood up to her, and I had won. Now, I could live my life without her shadow hanging over me. The courthouse steps behind us felt like a line I had finally crossed, from a dark past into a brighter future. Aunt Janet and I headed to a small cafe nearby. It had become our usual place for talking after court visits. "So it's finally over," I said, stirring my coffee without thinking. "I can't believe it. After all these years, I'm really free of her." Aunt Janet nodded, her eyes full of pride and relief. "You stood up for yourself, Kelly. That took courage. You've come a long way from that scared little girl." I smiled, really smiled. A warm feeling of pride spread through me. "Yeah, I guess I have." "I never thought things would end this way." "They usually don't," Aunt Janet said, sipping her tea. "But what matters is, it's over. You can finally leave Rachel and all that pain in the past." Her words and her support felt like a light in the dark. "Thanks, Janet. I don't know what I would have done without you." She gave me a warm smile. "That's what family is for. And don't forget, you've got your whole life ahead of you. A life that you get to shape." We spent the rest of the afternoon talking about the future, my job, places I wanted to visit, and the goals I had for myself. For the first time in a long time, I felt truly excited about what was coming. As I walked home that evening, the city lights seemed to shine a little brighter, and the air felt cleaner. I realized something. This was the first time in my life I felt completely free. Free from Rachel. Free from the fear, the sadness, and all the pain she brought. Back in my apartment, I stood by the window, looking out at the busy city. This was my world now. A world full of chances and new beginnings. I thought about everything I had been through. The fights, the hard days, the strength I found inside myself. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was in charge of my own life now. I decided to start a journal. I wanted to write about this new chapter. As I finished the first page, I felt calm and hopeful. I knew the road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but I was ready for it. "Here's to new beginnings," I whispered to myself, closing the journal with a quiet smile. Rachel's part in my story was over. But my story? It was just beginning. And this time it would be filled with hope, strength, and the freedom to be exactly who I was meant to be.